The wind cuts through your cloak like a blade. You've been walking since dawn, and now the sun has vanished behind iron-gray clouds that promise nothing but misery. Your boots are soaked through wool hose, clinging cold against your calves, and the road ahead disappears into gathering darkness. This is northern France in late November. 1287, and you are alone. You need shelter. Fast. The nearest town is still 6 miles distant, maybe more. Your feet ache with every step, and the kind of cold that seeps into your bones has already begun its work. You can feel it in your fingers, in the way your jaw wants to clench. The temperature is dropping toward freezing, and you're wet. That combination kills. You scan the roadside. No inn, no monastery, no barn. Just bare fields stripped of harvest, skeletal trees, and the low stone wall of someone's land, someone who would not welcome a stranger on their property after dark. The laws are clear about that. Vagrancy means the stocks if you're lucky. A beating if you're not. But there's something else. 50 paces off the road, you spot the crumbled foundation of an old structure. Maybe a shepherd's hut, long abandoned. The walls are chest-high on one side, barely knee-high on the other. No roof. But it's something. It breaks the wind. You leave the road and make for it. Boots squelching through mud. Your breath comes in visible clouds now. The first rule of survival in cold like this is simple. You must get dry. You must get warm. And you must do both before your body stops being able to manage it for you. Once you start shivering uncontrollably, once your thinking goes fuzzy, you're on borrowed time. Inside the ruin, you're out of the worst of the wind. That's progress. But you're still wet, still cold, and night is coming fast. You need fire. And here's where the real problem begins, because the survival trick that could save your life tonight is the same one that could get you hanged. Medieval travelers knew something that's been almost completely erased from history. A technique so effective for staying alive on the road that it became widespread among commoners, tinkers, laborers, anyone who moved between towns. But it was also illegal in many regions, restricted by guild law, condemned by local authorities, and eventually stamped out so thoroughly that most people today have never heard of it. What was it? And why did it vanish? Before we go further, if you're finding this fascinating, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these forgotten survival methods. And subscribe, because we're building a whole series on medieval survival techniques that actually worked. Drop a comment and let me know. Where are you watching from? I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, back to that freezing November night. You crouch in the shelter of the broken wall and take stock. In your pouch, flint, steel, a wad of char cloth for tinder, a small piece of hard cheese wrapped in linen, and a thumb-sized clay vessel sealed with a wooden plug and wrapped in leather cord. That last item, that's your secret. The ground is too wet for a fire here. You need to build it on stone. You gather flat rocks from the collapsed wall and stack them into a small platform, then scrape together everything dry you can find. Dead grass from under the wall's overhang, a few twigs protected by the stones, splinters of wood from an old beam. It's not much. You strike the flint against steel. Once. Twice. A spark catches in the char cloth. You cup it. Blow gently, coaxing the glow. Transfer it to the nest of dry grass. More breath. The grass smolders, then finally flames. You feed it carefully. Too much fuel too fast and you'll smother it. Too little and the wind will take it. This is the eternal mathematics of fire. Fuel, heat, Oxygen, balanced on a knife's edge. The flames grow. You add larger twigs, then pieces of the rotted beam. The fire gives you light, warmth on your face and hands. But here's the problem. You're still wet. Your cloak, your tunic, your hose, all of it is damp with road mud and rain. And wet wool is a thief. It steals your body heat through conduction 50 times faster than dry wool would. You need to dry out, but you can't strip naked in freezing air. That would kill you faster than staying wet. So you do what travelers do. You turn yourself like meat on a spit, warming one side while the other stays cold, rotating slowly, trying to dry the fabric without burning it. It's exhausting, it's inefficient, and it's not enough. The real danger comes after the fire dies. Because fires die, you don't have enough fuel to keep it burning until dawn, and even if you did, you can't sleep next to an open flame. One shift in the wind, one moment of deep sleep, and you wake up with your cloak on fire. If you wake up at all, this is where most travelers died. Not dramatically, not in a single frozen moment, but slowly, over the course of a long night, as their core temperature dropped degree by degree. Hypothermia is a quiet killer. But you have that clay vessel. You unwrap it carefully and remove the wooden plug. Inside, embers. Still living coals from a fire you built yesterday, banked in ash, carried in clay. The ancients called it a fire pot or ember horn, depending on the region. The trick is old, older than Rome, but by the 13th century it had become something else. It had become forbidden. Here's how it works. Before you left the last town, you built a small fire and let it burn down to coals. Good hardwood coals, oak or beech that burn slow and hot. You buried them in fine ash, starving them of oxygen, slowing their consumption to almost nothing. Then you sealed them in the clay pot. The ash insulates them, the clay holds the heat. And if you've done it right, those embers can stay alive for 24 hours or more. Why is this survival magic? Because starting a fire with flint and steel is hard. It takes time, dry materials, and luck. But starting a fire from living embers, you just add tinder and blow. Instant flame. It means you can restart your fire in seconds instead of struggling for half an hour in the dark. It means you're never truly without fire. But there's a second use. A use that made the authorities nervous. You take 3 of the largest stones from your fire-smooth river rocks, heated until they're almost too hot to touch, and you wrap them in damp grass, then in a piece of your linen undershirt. The damp grass keeps the linen from scorching. You tuck these wrapped stones inside your cloak, against your belly and chest. The heat is immediate, glorious. These stones will radiate warmth for hours, slowly drying your clothes from the inside out, keeping your core temperature stable while you sleep. This is the forbidden trick. Not just carrying fire, though that alone was regulated, but using heated stones as portable warmth, combined with ember carry, to survive without a proper hearth. It meant you could sleep rough and stay alive. It meant you didn't need the inn, didn't need the monastery's charity, didn't need to beg a place by someone's fire. It meant you were independent. And in medieval society, independence among the laboring classes was dangerous. You arrange yourself against the wall, cloak pulled tight, heated stones warm against your skin. The fire burns down to nothing, but you're no longer afraid. You have heat. You have the embers for tomorrow. The wind howls outside your broken shelter, but you're in a cocoon of accumulated warmth. Sleep comes in fits. You wake several times, once when a stone has cooled too much and you shift it away, once when you hear something moving in the darkness beyond the walls. Fox, maybe. or rat. You don't investigate. You stay still, stay warm, stay alive. Dawn arrives gray and cold. You're stiff, sore, but you're alive. Your clothes are mostly dry. You rebuild the fire from your embers 3 breaths, and you have flame and warm yourself properly. Then you seal the new coals back in the clay pot, wrap it, and continue toward town. You've survived. But thousands of others doing exactly this, that's what terrified the landowners, the guilds, the town councils. Here's why this trick vanished. First, property and control. Heating stones and carrying fire meant you could camp anywhere. That challenged the entire feudal structure of hospitality and obligation. Lords wanted travelers dependent on official inns, on monastery guest houses, on places where you could be tracked, taxed, and controlled. A traveler who needed nothing was a traveler who owed nothing. That was intolerable. Second, fire laws. By the 14th century, towns across northern Europe began passing strict regulations about carrying fire. The stated reason was safety, fear of accidental fires in timber-built cities, but the real reason was control. Tinkers, vagrants, landless laborers, anyone who moved freely, they were suspect. Carrying live coals became associated with arson, with witchcraft, with rebellion. You could be arrested just for possessing a fire pot. Third, guild monopolies. In many towns, only licensed charcoal burners, smiths, and hearth keepers were allowed to maintain and transport fire. Breaking that monopoly meant undercutting their fees, their authority, their livelihood. The guilds lobbied hard for laws that banned ember carry among common travelers. They won. By 1400, the knowledge was fading. By 1600, it was mostly gone, remembered only in scattered rural practices and a few obscure laws still on the books. The rise of cheap tinderboxes, better roads, more inns, and eventually matches and lighters finished the job. The forbidden trick became unnecessary. Then it became forgotten. What kept you alive that November night? 3 things. The knowledge of how heat actually works, radiation from stones, insulation from ash, the deadly speed of wet cloth conduction, the tools to harness it, clay pot, ember coals, heated stones, and the willingness to use a technique that society had decided was too dangerous to allow. You reached town by midday. You sold your labor. You earned enough for bread and a place by a legal fire. And you never told anyone about the clay pot in your bag. But now you know. And next time, we go deeper. Should we explore how medieval people purified water without boiling? Or the real reason travelers feared certain forest paths at night? Or the secret signal system beggars used to mark safe houses? Let me know in the comments. Until then, stay curious and stay warm.